Black Ops 6 Season 4 just dropped, and they added the brand new LC-10 and the FFAR, as well as buffing and nerfing a lot of the other weapons. So we are going to be going over the new top 5 meta weapons with the best classes, with the first 2 weapons being honorable mentions of the LC-10 and the FFAR. Obviously, these are going to be very good weapons, if not the best guns in the game. It's just you guys probably don't have them leveled up, so I'm going to be giving you like an actual top 5 after I show you these 2. So this gun, very good, no recoil at all. We don't have any recoil control, and you guys can see that it is pretty easy to beam at long range. And I'm still freezing, just woke up and I haven't warmed up. This is the FFAR. They absolutely butchered the iron sights, but there's no recoil. You can get away with a build that has a little bit more, mobility and things like that, but I was just going for a very consistent one. With this one though, since there is no recoil on the LC-10, you can just do the suppressor, staying off the radar, making it a little bit easier to build up that streak. Or if you're playing Warzone, the enemies are just going to have a harder time finding where you're at. The barrel, the bolt velocity is insane on this gun. So it's 600 without the barrel, so you don't really need to add the reinforce whatsoever. If you do add it, it's going to have like better than most of the ARs in the game. And the FFAR, that's one thing you guys are going to see, is that the FFAR, what the hell? Yeah, the FFAR has like no bolt velocity. And then our damage range though is 25.9 meters, but if we add the long barrel, it's up to about 30 meters. And so this gun is supposed to be used at long range, and so I feel like it probably doesn't have the best TTK up close. I'm curious if this one's going to be outgunning that LADRA. It's just the update just came out. So for the magazine though, we are using the extended mag 1, so we don't really need to worry about reloading. Obviously for the rear grip, for the SMGs, you typically always want to use the ergonomics, since you want to make sure the gun's snappy and you don't have a delay when you go to slide to fire, since that is basically how you engage in every gunfight in this game. Then lastly, for the stock, I am going to be using the infiltrator stock. Balance stock isn't bad, but since we only get like a little bit of strafing movement speed, not that much of the other types of movement speed, I feel like you're going to get more value out of the infiltrator stock, maxing out your ADS movement speed, so then you're going to be a harder target to hit. So definitely take a screenshot of this class. Phenomenal gun, or it feels like it so far. Now we got the FFAR. We're just going to be keeping the build very simple. We're going to be going over to the muzzle, adding that compensator, which is going to make the gun a little bit easier to use at close range as well as long range. The ported is better at specifically long range. Obviously, if you're playing Warzone, you want to use the monolithic suppressors, max out that damage range. You still could do this. I just don't want the ADS to be slow, and I'd rather just have that compensator. For the barrel, the bolt velocity on this gun is horrible. So if we go over here and add the long barrel, it's 600 meters per second. That's SMG territory. It's literally the LC-10. So if you want to have it at least be borderline AR usable, use the reinforce, bring up to 750, and then you get a little bit of damage range in there as well. And I'm getting some congestion. Next up, for the underbarrel, this gun does bounce around side to side a decent amount, so I'm going to be using that vertical foregrip. Although this is the brand new grip in the game, it's called the G grip. It's going to increase your recoil stabilization, so making sure your sights don't really sway or like shake as much, as well as giving you that horizontal recoil control. And then it kind of works as the Strelak laser too. It increases the hip fire to ADS accuracy, so it kind of makes it feel like you have a faster ADS speed. And so it does feel good, but there is going to be a laser. Although it is a blue laser, Strelak laser, you can't see the blue. I guarantee you've never seen a blue laser on the game. In the game. So you can definitely try that out. And honestly, I think I'm going to be going with this underbarrel, this new one, rather than that vertical. It's just if I die because the enemy see the laser, I'm definitely swapping back over to the vertical. For the underbarrel, we are using the extended mag 1, since you guys can see the fire rate is extremely fast. For the rear grip, since you kind of want to use this weapon somewhat aggressively, since the damage range isn't that good, you want to use the ergonomic grip, so then again, you don't really have any delays on your gun. There's the 5 attachment build. You guys do want the 8 attachment build. I will be bringing these out in the future. I'm probably doing LC-10 video later today or tomorrow, and then FFAR immediately after that. Now for the first gun on this list, it's going to be the AMES 85. As you guys can see, it did get a slight buff, and so now we're going to be going over to the optic, just using the Kepler. This is a pretty basic setup. The iron sights are horrible on this gun, so definitely use it optic on the gun. And then you always got to go over to the reticle and then add that green dot. And then for the muzzle, we are going to be using the compensator, eliminating that that recoil. It's easier to use up close. Typically, you always want to use the compensator. Warzone, I would usually always use the monolithic suppressor. For the barrel, we are using the reinforced barrel, increasing that damage range as well as the bolt velocity. The damage range really doesn't help you out that much, but I think it's around at like 40 or something meters, it does take like 1 less bullet, and so that definitely does help. And then the bolt velocity is going to make it so you don't really need to lead any of your shots. And then for the underbarrel, we are using that vertical foregrip. This is going to make it so just the gun doesn't shake anymore. It doesn't really shake at all. Like you can definitely get away with adding a magazine instead, just doing something like this. But sometimes if I'm using a gun like this, I want to be very consistent. If you miss any bullets, the TTK is a little bit slow, so definitely got to make sure you don't miss. And then the update for rank play comes out. I don't think you can use a muzzle anymore, so then you just got to go over here, add that recoil springs. And lastly, for the rear grip, we are using the ergonomic grip. If you're playing Warzone, take off the rear grip, over here, add the extended mag 1, and then use the monolithic, and you should be perfectly fine. If you guys do want to use the 8 attachment build, I would go over here, add the extended mag, Gonna go over to these stocks, and we are going to be adding the infiltrator stock, making it so you're very hard target to hit, and it's just going to be actually easier to hit the enemies. Then lastly, for the fire mod, we are going to go over here and we are going to be adding the, if you're playing Warzone, use the overpressured rounds, but multiplayer, you should honestly be fine with the recoil springs. Then you can just go over to the muzzle, add that suppressor. So now you're going to be off the radar, as well as still having a lot of recoil control to where you're not going to really miss any shot whatsoever. I honestly prefer to use this thing with the 8 attachments on multiplayer. It's just, you know, it sucks you can't run the perk greed. Do you want everything in Call of Duty without having to play the game? Then you should check out my long-term sponsor, Guapsi. Guapsi is a team of real players that will load onto your account to legitimately grind anything that you wish. And this goes for all the recent Call of Duties and many other games. They will even get you iridescent so you can flex all the cool rewards. Seriously, there's no risk involved because they don't use an unlock tool. They legitimately play in your account. And I've been with them for a long time and haven't seen a single negative review. And so if you want to save your time and energy, check out guapsi.com. For the next weapon, we got the C9. They surprisingly actually buffed the range on this gun. I don't think it's gonna really make a difference too much at all, because if you don't increase the damage, then you typically don't really see a difference. But you know, the gun is feeling very good, and you guys should definitely use it if you want to be very dominant on both Warzone and multiplayer. So there's not that much vertical recoil in the weapon. There's only a lot of side-to-side bounce. So that's why we are not going to be using a muzzle on the gun, and we are just going to be going straight over to the underbarrel. We are going to be using the G grip on here. If you don't have it unlocked, use the vertical foregrip. And so that's what I'm trying to show you. The vertical, I think the G grip is a lot better. It's just the vertical, you know, you actually have it unlocked at the moment, and so then you can use it in the meantime. But decent amounts of you know, control onto the gun. I'll show you how to make it a little bit easier to use if you want that. But for the barrel, we are using that reinforced barrel. Since you can use it at long range, we want to be able to increase that bullet velocity. You don't want to have to lead your shots. You want everything to register very well, and then you also don't want, you know, that little damage range. So now we got the reinforced on there. I used to always do like the long barrel, but now that the damage range got buffed, you can definitely get away with that reinforced. For the magazine, we are using the Extendo Mag 1, just so you don't have to worry about reloading whatsoever. I do get comments of people asking about the 10mm rounds. These are just not that good. You don't really, like, if you want to do the best of the best, use the Extendo Mag 1. For the rig grip, we are using the ergonomic grip, cutting down on a lot of those delays, allowing you to play very fluidly. And then I like the infiltrator stock, and it makes it just feel like that OG MP5. You can just move and strafe very fast. Same reasons as why we're using it on the other guns. So right here's going to be my favorite build, and then you could take off the stock though. Fire mods, add that recoil springs, and so now you're going to get a little bit more recoil control, and you're going to be able to get more horizontal. Remember, that was like the thing with this gun, is that there's a lot of horizontal, and so now if we have that on there, we're going to be getting basically the best amount of recoil control you can get. There's no vertical, so the muzzle won't help you whatsoever. So for the 8 attachment build, I'd recommend just adding a suppressor onto the gun. I do see people in Warzone use the monolithic. I just hate the ADS. I can't stand it. Let me just do the infiltrator stock on there. An optic is actually pretty fun. Just trust me. If you're rocking the gunfighter, definitely just run an optic. And now that we have like the laser built into the grip, it's you know, this is a very kitted, insanely nice build. Next up, we are going to be going over the JACKAL PDW. This thing did get buffed. Hopefully it feels a little bit better, although it's just like a slight damage range buff, so it's not going to really, you know, do much for the weapon. And oh, this actually, I think, is the wrong class. I don't have a muzzle on the gun. You know, rank plate, you just want to keep the same thing: reinforced, ranger, ergonomic, balance stock on there. But if you are playing like Warzone or something, then I would just use the compensator so you don't really miss any bullets. It's going to be a lot easier to beam those people out of the sky, or just if you're on regular multiplayer, just do more consistent. The monolithic again is good, but I just hate the ADS speed. For the barrel, we are using that reinforced barrel, increasing that damage range as well as the bullet velocity. I used to only do the long barrel, which the long barrel honestly is actually, you know what, I would say the long barrel is better. Just this gun is just use the long barrel. The reinforced is also really good if you have a bad connection. For the underbarrel, we are using that G and grip on here, although I still kind of like the ranger because you can move around the map a lot faster, and this game is so momentum based that you want to move around fast, to where the ranger a lot of time is going to be a lot better than the G grip unless you need that recoil control. And so I think you're fine. You could do the G grip and then do like a suppressor on the gun. That would work very well. And then we're going to be using the balance stock, so then you have max strafe speed. You guys can see that we get like double arrows of every type, and so that's when you want to use the balance over the infiltrator, which the infiltrator's not a bad option. It's just where you get a lot of, like, you know, you can shoulder corners a lot easier with that balance. Then for the rig grip, we are using that ergonomic grip, increasing that slide to fire, that die to fire, the ADS, and the jumping ADS speed overall, you know, adding a lot more fluidity to your weapon. And so take a screenshot of this build. I'll remove that face cam. If you guys do enjoy this, if you find it helpful, make sure you guys leave a like and you know, subscribe. For the, you guys could take out the balance stock, extended mag 1. That's a pretty good one. But you know, with the gunfighter wildcard, you can then get the best of both worlds. Then we're going to be going over to the fire mods. We're going to be adding the overpressured rounds, I would say, and then have that long barrel, so then you know, you can easily use it at long range. Then we can get the value of that under barrel by adding that strike laser, and we don't really need an optic on the gun. So now we can move faster, we get the recoil control, and then we also have hip fire to ADS accuracy. Super helpful. This is going to be another very good build. Now for the next one, we are going to be going over to the Grau 5.56, which is one of the best guns to be using at long range. Like, this thing, insanely good. It's just people always mess up the class, and ADS speed's still a little bit slow, but you know, there's no recoil on the weapon. Definitely start using the Grau if you haven't already started using it. This gun, since it is inherently a marksman rifle that we're adding a conversion kit, so this is gonna now make it so then we still have like the cons of a marksman rifle, that it's like you're still gonna have a lot of flinch on your gun, which is very, very annoying. So that's why we are going to be using the combat stock to, you know, increase that flinch resistance, and then also get a little bit of strafe speed. You could max out your flinch resistance with the heavy, but the strafe speed is not that good because it's a marksman rifle, so it's gonna, you know, increase both those values, making it more so feel like an AR. A lot of initial recoil, you want to use the ported, especially because you kind of want to use the weapon at longer ranges, and so now it's gonna be less initial recoil in the weapon, and your screen's not going to shake as much when the enemies do actually hit some shots on you. For the rear grip, I'm going to be using the quick draw grip, making the weapon feel a little bit snappier. Ergonomics not bad if you're only playing aggressive with the weapon. And then I might as well throw on the full auto extended mag, so then you get the recoil stabilization and you get a little bit more ammo on there. So that's definitely kind of a must on this gun. Let me just show you guys real quick. ADS speeds very fast, to where you could probably get away with the ergonomic, but I kind of like the fast ADS speeds. We don't have an underbarrel, but there's still no recoil on the gun. Here's going to be the screenshot for this. You don't really need the 8 attachments. I wouldn't use it, but if you do want to use the 8 attachments, I would just go over here, use the ranger so you move around faster, and then do the strike laser, and then I guess run an optic, but it feels weird to run an optic on this Grau. This is a pretty good build, but I'm not going to give you the screenshot for that one. Next up, for the last one on this entire list, oh, I think we got to go over, have we gone over the KRIG? I don't think we've gone over the KRIG. For some reason, I think one of my classes or something got reset, but the KRIG is going to be still a very, very dominant weapon, probably the best gun in both Warzone and multiplayer still. I like to use the Doppler's MF's reflex sight. We're going to go over to the reticle, have that green one on there, and then for the muzzle, we're going to use the compensator. Since this gun does shake around a lot, that's the biggest con of the KRIG. It's going to make it so it's a lot more usable, more consistent at longer ranges. For the barrel, we are using that reinforced barrel. Definitely a little bit overkill for multiplayer, to where you can take off the barrel, just go over to this and add the extended mag one. Probably get more value out of that, but this is going to make sure it maxes out that damage range and that bullet velocity, to where you should be able to win every gunfight wherever you're at in the map. You just might need to reload a little bit more often because we don't have a magazine. But then underbarrel, again, this gun does shake around side to side, so I recommend the vertical foregrip onto here. Although, let me try it again with the C grip. I did test these beforehand. It's just that grip, it's just a little bit weird at times, you know. It's just a little bit iffy, to where you get more recoil control with the vertical, but if you are tending to play more aggressive, like if you're on the smaller maps like Face Off, or if you're on Nuketown or Warzone, you're kind of just playing super aggressive, then I would say the G grip is better. But most of the time, for most ARs, just use that vertical. Then we have the quick draw grip, allowing you to be a little bit more snappy. This is going to be the best KRIG C class in Season 4. Now, if you do want to use the 8 attachments, extended mag for the stock, we are going to be using the bounce stock, because again, a lot of like all types of strafe speed onto your weapon. Then for the fire mods, we're using that. We're going to be throwing, if you're playing Warzone, use the overpressure, but for multiplayer, honestly, just do the recoil springs. Then you can actually get away with the suppressor. But if you want the weapon to be more accurate, for sure use that compensator. It's just you can kind of get away with the suppressor now. And then in Warzone, obviously, monolithic's not a bad idea, but there's just the bouncy recoil, where you typically want to use the KRIG. And I guess we got Kimbo. Wait, let me just see if we got a Kimbo KRIGs real quick. This is kind of weird. Okay, I got a Kimbo KRIGs. This game is not broken at all. Not a broken game at all. Okay, for the last one on this entire list, we are going to be going over the LADRA. The LADRA still is a very, very good weapon, and I definitely highly recommend to use it. I don't know why it's locking my gun in single fire. That's a little bit weird, but I'll just use the extended mag 1 on the gun. Extended mag 2 is pretty fun. It's just a little bit harder to use at close range. For the underbarrel, we are using that vertical. Actually, you know, now we're going to be using that G grip. Ranger, again, you can move around faster, but this one's just going to increase the hip fire to ADS accuracy, so it actually feels like you have a faster ADS, and this gun doesn't have that good of a TTK up close, and so now you can ADS faster, which should give you a faster TTK. For the barrel, we are going to be using the long barrel, since this gun is better at longer ranges. You just want to be able to maximize that fast TTK, since that's where you should be really using it. Then for the muzzle, we are going to be adding that compensator, increasing the vertical recoil control, although you can easily get away with the suppressor on the gun. It's just sometimes you want that consistency. consistency. Right here is going to be the best LADRA in season 4 of Black Ops 6 in Warzone. Then for the stock, we are going to be going over here. We are going to be using the infiltrator, so you can strafe very fast. Fire mods, we are going to be adding the overpressured rounds. So then, but you know, the rapid fire is super good as well. Like, I honestly love the rapid fire on the LADRA in multiplayer, but if you're going for more of a consistent regular build, use the overpressured rounds with the compensator on there. And then you can use an optic if you want, but you know, I feel a little bit weird using the optic. And usually I would just do like, you know, the ranger and then go over to the laser and then add that Strelok laser. So this was another actually pretty good build. I'd probably actually do this if you're rocking 8 attachments. You don't need the optic, just do the ranger with the Strelok, because then you know, you have the extra attachment for the Strelok. And I think that is gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys are enjoying the update. I hope there's no bugs. I hope you guys do like the setup. I hope you get some crazy games. Deuces.